Hey everyone, it's Ed here, and welcome to another edition of Ed Talks. I know you have a lot of different media that you could look at and learn from, so I'm glad you're spending some time with me because we have amazing, amazing guests, and today is no different. And so it's my longtime friend and colleague, Nassar Nazami. Did I say that right? Nazami?
You
Yes.
nailed it, man.
I always so paranoid when it comes down to getting people's names right. And so that's all right. It's good to see you again. Welcome to Ed Talks.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this is gonna be great for a couple of reasons. One is it's life science. We're going to be talking life sciences, which with Ed Talks and all of the different media, I try not to just focus on provider side, which is where I'm from. So I tend to have a lot of guests from provider side, but also payers and life sciences and pharma. And so it's great. Although I was kind of sad, when you left the ranks of provider side because you're like one of the marquee CIOs in the industry. Uh, but I know that the heart and soul, the mission of Exact Sciences sort of drew you there. Tell us a little bit about Exact Sciences really quick.
Absolutely. Look, so I'll tell you, yes, my heart is still, with provider side, and I believe that we are one healthcare uh, industry, all pushing the same mission forward. But Exact Sciences is a molecular diagnostics company that specializes in the early detection of cancer. Most people know us, know our flagship product, goard, which is a colorectal screening product, but we have a robust set of other screening and precision oncology tests. We are headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin, but we have offices in San Diego, Redwood City, Cambridge. We have a presence in Switzerland, Poland, and a growing international presence. We are about 6,500 strong company with a mission to eradicate cancer.
Yeah, I love the mission. And when you went there to Exact Sciences, I learned a little bit more about it, and I was really drawn to the mission as well. And I could understand, because we talked when you were making the transition, I can really understand why you did that, and to be part of a company like that, that's pretty special and spectacular.
Mhm.
So, congratulations on that move. So we first met many years ago, but I probably in the last 4 years, around the pandemic time, we got a little bit more more acquainted with one another, and we'd see each other professional organizations and things like that. But I always drew a lot of inspiration from you, and I always looked at your leadership and where you were in different organizations, and just watching your trajectory and becoming, like I said, one of the great CIO leaders in healthcare today. So I always appreciated you and your friendship, more so. So we also bonded on a friend level, and so I always appreciated that about you. So anyways, that's another reason why I'm so thrilled to have you as a guest. And just Nassar, to get to know you a little bit, tell us about a great customer experience you had recently. Could be in or outside of healthcare.
I'll tell you a personal experience. So we recently hired a local contractor to do some renovation work. Okay, so honest service, timely service, exceptional feedback. There are a couple of folks who were non-native English speakers, so they had one person who spoke English who always made it a point to proactively provide us feedback on time every time. We had some issues, we mentioned to them, they immediately rectified everything. So all in all, what I thought about was, this was everything that we talk about in our profession in healthcare provider. You think about getting an appointment, all the issues that we have, the payments, like, how many people understand the bill or get the actual bill if they go visit a hospital, right? So, in courteous service, it just amazing. And here's the fun part: all of this without mentioning or using anything digital. Okay, and just reinforces the point that like digital is one of the tools, very important tool, but end of the day it comes to this just human to human interaction, right? And how you service, I think, is the core of any experience that we make. So I thought
That's
I'd share something non-healthcare related
Yeah,
with you
no,
today.
I appreciate that. And that's, yeah, goes back to the whole humanness, right? Because oftentimes we can get sort of over fascinated with the tech and we lose the human and the human
That's
spirit.
right.
Hey, tell us about something that your parents made you do when you were growing up and you kind of like eye roll, like, really, I have to do this. But now that as an adult, you're like, oh, I'm kind of glad they forced me.
Of course, Ed, like I grew up in a pre-internet era, right? So I was really fortunate to learn about internet, and of course we use it on a daily basis now. But growing up, there was no internet. Both my parents were avid readers, so they surrounded by books, all sorts of books, fiction, non-fiction, magazines, academic, everything. And I'm not going to call it that my forcing. My parents did not necessarily force, but they did set an expectation that, hey, you're going to spend money and I'm going to buy a book I'm going to read. Okay. And look, at times this became burdensome. And, I did have those eye roll moments with, different readings that, I was asked to do. But in the long run, I think it has served me really well. To date, on and off, I get into reading, and like at night, like a book is the best way, for me to fall asleep, for all good and bad reasons. Like even if it's
Right.
a fun book, just a habit, just a habit for me to read. And especially nowadays with e-readers, it's a lot more easier and simpler to basically take book with you. And frankly, look, I have like it's fascinating because I have used things that I learned like 10 years later. Right? I read something somewhere, and at the time it was just piece of information, not necessarily very useful. Like years later, I find myself, oh wow, I read something, and I can use it now. Okay. And so that's one thing where, I'm now, I, as I'm growing older, I think appreciating a lot more that my parents, sort of instilled this respect of reading into me, something that I am trying to do the same with my kids.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, and yeah, that's something that definitely serves you well. And you told us a little bit, Nassar, already about yourself, but I'll kind of leave you with an open-ended question in terms of, tell us a little bit about your personal and professional journey that led you to where you are today.
Look, it's a very simple journey, Ed. And we I grew up. My father was an accountant. My mom was a teacher. I grew up in Middle East. Humble beginnings, but I always felt that my parents supported me. And the fun part is that growing up, even though we were very humble, I thought that we were rich, wealthy rich, right? And living in a one-bedroom apartment. At the time, his life was simple, man. I did my high school from at United Arab Emirates. Then I went to Turkey for my undergrads in electrical and electronics engineering. Computers was just becoming a thing back then. And most people who wanted to do computers were doing electrical and electronics engineering anyway. So came to the United States for my master's in computer engineering, was fortunate enough to complete that and then complete an MBA from Columbia. Got into healthcare not necessarily by, because I wanted to. It's just that during dot-com burst, like I joined the workforce in 1999. That was just before the dot-com burst. If you remember that, like if you could spell computers, you got a job in computers. My
Yeah.
aim was to go in chip designing. I wanted to be into like hardcore designing chips and so forth, but the jobs are more attractive in just IT. So I thought I'll take a job, just pay some bills and then make the pivot. And few months into my job, the dot-com bubble burst basically, and there were no jobs. So I just stuck with where I was, which was a hospital. And I just was again very fortunate to work for our EL Health in Connecticut. I became their first chief information security officer. Moved to New York Presbyterian, which is the hospital for Columbia and Cornell. Moved to Jefferson. and now at Exact Sciences. And look, I must say, you have been very kind with your praise and your words. And when I look at my life, it's just I've been surrounded by exceptional people, exceptional friends like yourself, who I can go for help, for advice, coaching and mentoring. I attribute a lot of my own journey to the folks that I just have been very fortunate to be with.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've been able to serve with some fantastic individuals and organizations, just like I have, which is pretty cool. And now Exact Sciences. So
Yep.
yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Exact Sciences. So we sort of introduced it at the top, the mission of Exact Sciences and what to do, and the different sub brands that people would recognize. If they didn't recognize Exact Sciences, they definitely recognize the sub brands, some of the products and things that you're doing. Um, what are one or two things that are different being a CIO sort of in life sciences versus the provider side?
First of all, the basics are the same. Secondly, I'm too new, but I do have observed some changes, some differences that I'm happy to share. Again, the basics are the same. The help desk, desktop support, the infrastructure, cloud, the basics are the same. There's not much difference there. But we are, what I'm finding is that we are a publicly traded company. There's an intense focus on outcomes. If you think about provider and you work with for some really remarkable organizations, I think you're going to relate to it. There are many things that we all do: quality, patient experience, innovation, right? And at times, my experience is that in provider, especially healthcare systems, there's no clear priority. You just have like several priorities, and you try to do all of it at once, which can be difficult. At Exact Sciences, my experience is that we are the prioritization is there's a rigor there. I mean, absolutely, it's not perfect. I don't think any organization is perfect, but the rigor is just amazing. So when I leave meetings, I don't have a lot of doubt in my mind around priorities. Like doubts come. Like I said, I don't want to paint a picture that we know exactly what we're doing. That's not what I'm saying. But all I'm saying is that rigor and the focus is probably next level and different than providers. The innovation is interesting, I think, in the sense that innovation that yields clear outcomes and results, there is an intense focus again. Versus, I think, bright, shiny objects. Look, every organization at some level tries to chase bright, shiny objects. It's okay, it's normal, I guess, right? But again, there is a difference in just the volume and frequency, I think, which I find refreshing.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I know, and again, I should have established this earlier. You've been at Exact Sciences, but at the time of this recording, let's just say 4 months or so. So some of these questions, we might have to revisit in a year or two and see if
That's right.
hold true. But would you recommend, again, it's kind of early question, but would you recommend for like a good career path instead of staying in the provider side? You mentioned in the outset we're healthcare, as an enterprise. Would you recommend sort of spending some time in these different pockets of healthcare, like payers and life sciences, and then providers, kind of mixed together?
Absolutely, yes, and I'll tell you why. So, look, even though I've worked for health systems, I also was fortunate enough to work as a CIO of a university, medical school and university, and an insurance company, right? So that experience and just knowing, because this again, everything is interrelated. Coming into Exact Sciences, like I didn't know the business, right? But what I found very quickly was that health systems and payers are our customers at Exact Sciences. And I know our customers very well. I absolutely understand what their needs are. So I was able to help, and I'm able to help our organization calibrate expectations, like simple things. Hey, we have an orders and results interface. Why wouldn't health systems do this? And so to tell them, look, there are priorities. Who do you go to? Who should be at the table to make things happen? So I find myself even not knowing the industry, I'm able to help, right? And if I were to sort of flip that, right, I would encourage, to at least, understand, be at the table, because we both have been in provider side, and we have our ecosystem, which is very tight, which is awesome. I've benefited a lot from that ecosystem, but I think, there are benefits of expanding that. So, in life sciences is actually, the definition of life sciences is fairly broad because there are pharmaceutical companies. We are a specialty lab. There's medtech, there's software developers, and so forth. So it's not, one mold fits all kind of situation. And connecting with each other, learning about each other, because it's all interconnected in a way, right? I think is greatly beneficial. Even if people are not able to switch industries, that's fine. At least be connected to the ecosystem, go to the industry events, conferences, and so forth. If someone can actually do a gig or hire someone from outside, I think all in all, in grand scheme of things, I think it's immensely helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I also had some payer experience from health systems that were payviders. Yeah, I forgot all about Jefferson, right? You had the education, the healthcare, and the payer. So that was great for you. Yeah, I highly recommend, having that breadth and depth of experience for all the reasons that you cited. So what are any key learnings? And again, I know it's the first 120 days, but were there one or two key learnings, Nassar, that you've had so far in your journey at Exact Sciences?
Yeah, look, look, I joined the organization for the mission, number one. Secondly, for the people, it's just an outstanding group of people, like incredibly remarkable, incredibly talented, and very committed. Uh, um, uh, I think one of the things that in one of the meetings, uh, someone shared this with me, my team member, that we have this issue of adherence, and this goes back to our discussion that we have in the past about health equity and making things easier for patients. So we have cancer test, which essentially is a kit that we send and patient send us back. Now adherence is not 100%, and we know this from our provider experience. So even a slight improvement in adherence can mean a lot, right? I knew that distinctly, but what I learned was just a percentage point improvement yielded several thousand positive results for us, which just was an eye opener to me. It was wow, and it was technology tweaks that we did, our team did. I mean, no credit to me; it's all the work the team was doing already. But when you think about the results, so there's certainly, you can quantify results many ways, financial, quality, this and that. But end of the day, we are in the business of detecting cancer. And the earlier that we detect, the better we believe the patients are going to be in a situation to just make sure that they are with their provider's help, mitigating, addressing the root cause. And just by improving one adherence metric, and detecting several thousand positive results was just remarkable, and just told me that the work that we are doing is so much important.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. What about from a tech standpoint? Again, I normally don't go too much into tech on EDTalks, but because this is something new for many of our audience, is there a difference in the tech stack, or is it pretty much the same? You already mentioned the cloud and things like that. Is it pretty much the same as you found on the provider side?
Couple of differences. Look, I mean, the basics again are the same. The couple of differences that I noted in what I found was, is this true for at least in the segment of life sciences that we are working in, which is that most, especially labs, have homegrown LIS systems. And the typical trajectory is because the roots are in research. So you start building something and you start with some open source code, you start tweaking it, and before you know it, your product is a success, and you have essentially a lab system, and you need to now expand it. You need to start connecting with other systems and so forth. So Exact Sciences have a homegrown system. We acquired other labs. They all came with their own homegrown system, most of them. So this is a pretty interesting thing, because in providers world we have almost given up, like all our core EMRs, etc. ERPs. It's all commercial products. Like there are large vendors who serve us, and we purchase systems from them. The homegrown is rather limited, I think, right? But in our business, in life sciences, especially in our LIS systems, it's a very still large software teams or homegrown systems that basically, if you will, are our bread and butter. And secondly, and this is of interest probably to you and some of our provider colleagues, I think we can do a really good job of integrating with health system. We have not done, and I want to say I'm talking about the industry in general, right? So the test and it's still, we're using fax-based workflows, a pretty significant number, and this is not limited to Exact Sciences. I think this is across the board for, as far as I can tell, because I've been digging into this. Again, this is one of the few things that I understand, but it's fascinating that, so our providers and generally other individuals just internalize this pain of sending an order by a fax and taking the results in and scanning it. And I was just surprised to see the value. So one of my missions is to just help as many providers as possible by streamlining simple processes.
Yeah. No, I like that. And again, it goes back to the power of working in multiple subverticals, because you understand the perspectives, you understand the tech on each side. Now you have the vision and technical capability to actually start putting that all together. So that's pretty cool. What are one or two like transformational type of things that you're allowed to share? I know you're a publicly traded company and you have competitors, things like that, but is there anything you can share that you all are doing, some key initiatives that are going to help transform the industry?
Yeah, look, so I would say one is just what I just mentioned. So we have a big push to connect with as many health systems as possible. That's make it simpler for the providers. Faster, simpler, less errors, better quality. It's just checks so many boxes that we just have to do that. Secondly, I mentioned multiple LIS systems. So one of my goals that I'm setting for myself and team is to how do you simplify, standardize, consolidate, integrate, and just simplify our internal processing. And lastly, if we take the buzz away from AI, there is reality there. We don't know exactly what the opportunity is, but we do believe that this is the future in many sort of aspects of what we do, from just general productivity improvement, which we are seeing with simple tools like ChatGPT, but some more, defined use cases that we believe are going to help us improve patient care, deliver better results, and in general, improve the quality of our products.
Yeah, I love that, and that's what makes me feel better. I was talking about how I was sort of sad in a selfish way, that you were leaving to life sciences, but in another way, it's like the greatest thing, because now someone like you that has gone through a lot of this sort of thing, like when it comes to the various LISs, for example, and you've done that before, where you've inherited multiple systems and you create one that works for everything, and then understand the needs of the providers and can help build those bridges. So I love what you're doing there. Let's transition a little bit to leadership. So I've met your beautiful wife. You have kids. How do you maintain this? So from a leadership perspective, you're busy, and you've always been on these top sort of, executive positions. How do you maintain, a healthy balance or integration of your family and work?
But I've definitely not mastered it, especially the last 3 or 4 months, because of travels and so forth. It's been tough. But I'll tell you, my perspective shifted during COVID. So prior to COVID, I think I have a certain work ethic where I did not always prioritize family. But during COVID, I just fortunately, like there are a lot of bad things and mostly bad things that came with COVID, but there were certain things that I think happened really positive that were positive for me. And one of that, which was ability to just spend a ton of time with my son and my daughter and my wife at home. You know, first almost 12 months, we were basically homebound, and we went to I did go to the hospital, but not very frequently. So, and that allowed me to get just closer to them and just learn about them and just enjoy them a lot more. My daughter just recently, earlier this semester, actually went to college. So she is no longer with us. My son is still with us. So I think the change for me in the last few years have been that I prioritize family a lot more. But there are still times where I have to prioritize work. It's not always easy. I have a very understanding wife. I'm fortunate to have an understanding wife who supports me and understands what I'm doing. But all in all, my advice to everyone is like, look, family first. I just don't know what's going to happen. And COVID taught us that. A lot changed during COVID. It just allowed me to self-reflect and just reset. Work is still important. I still believe in the mission of Exact Sciences, the previous company's organization that I've worked with, but family is family.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really healthy perspective. What were one or two leadership things you did when you went to Exact Sciences in your first 90 days? I'm not talking about the tech anymore. We covered sort of the priorities and the transformational type of things, but were there like a couple of leadership things that you took with you that you like really worked on in the first 90 days?
So look, first 90 days for me, and I think it's true when I joined Jefferson and other organizations, but especially at Exact Sciences because it's a new industry, was literally just to listen. Just like, I don't know, the ratio, and even with all the thinking I did and all the restraints, I probably spoke more than I should have. And like ideally I should be like 90-10, like 90% of time listening, 10%. I probably did more like maybe 60-40 or 70-30, but learn and listen, to the organization. And I'm a huge believer in teamwork, right? There are a lot of superstars that I've worked with, a lot of rock star physicians that I've seen working, and I appreciate all these people bring, who are really remarkable rock stars. But I'm a firm believer in team. I would take a good team over like one or two rock stars any given day. So first 90 days, and it still is, my focus is on team building. We have a couple of open positions for which we're recruiting for. We made some decisions to promote individuals. Again, I'm also a big believer in promoting within. If we do the job right, then we should be able to coach, mentor, have a good succession plan, and promote. Even though I don't know the individuals very well, my observation, the talent is just amazing at Exact Sciences, and I'm really delighted that we were able to promote some individuals. So focus was my team, building relationship with my peers, key stakeholders, listening to them. The good and bad of IT is that there's always a pent-up demand. Like, I have not been to any organization where I can say that, yeah, IT, like we had a downtime, we didn't have enough requests. Like, there's always a pent-up demand. And same is the case at Exact Sciences, which I think I always tell myself and my team that like it is like 100 times better than the opposite, right? Of not having enough work. So a good chunk of my time was just prioritization. So how do you prioritize with feedback from key stakeholders? So this relationship building, team building, prioritization, and planning for 2024.
Yeah, no, that sounds right on. How do you remain current? So, things you already mentioned AI. There's always something new with tech. There's maybe new stuff with leadership. How do you go about, remaining current in your profession?
Look, yeah, it's first of all, I would say it's not easy because there's work demands, there are family demands, and then the beauty of technology is that it's changing at such a rapid pace. When I started just as a CISO, security was, I understood security, and very quickly now they're domain experts in like subspecialty fields, right? You think about AI, it has grown so much that you just pick an area and you can just deep dive, and there's so much there to learn, right? So I keep myself current by talking to experts like yourself, and listening to podcasts like you do, um, conferences. You both of us were at Chime last month. That was just a great way to connect, listen to some thought leaders in the industry, learn from them. Uh, Books, and especially now that I'm traveling a lot, I'm listening to audiobooks a lot. Just like, again, you follow the right people, thought leaders, you stay connected with them. I try to do that and learn from them. And I have my own sort of, you know, contact list of folks that I contact when there's a new topic, there's a new technology, there's something that I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all good. Yeah, really good practical things for people who are listening or watching to adopt themselves if they're not doing it already. Nassar, we covered so much, a lot about sort of your background. Then we went into life sciences or life sciences and exact sciences specifically, and great things and the great mission and your early discoveries there. Then we talked about leadership, things that you do within your first 90 days. How do you manage life in all of this transition and make sure your family remains first? Is there something we missed or anything you want to double down on? I'll give you the last word.
No, I think the questions were great. They covered everything. Ultimately, it's all about people, our personal life and professional lives. And I think in this digital world that we live with constant text messages and email, our personal lives and professional lives has just sort of blended. And sometimes in a bad way, most of the times in a good way, I think. So the only thing that I would just double click on is to make sure that we are prioritizing people first. This is holiday season. We have our teams that have been working tirelessly. Just make sure that we are accounting for that, thanking them. In the end of the day, look, I mean, if you have a good network of people, if you're good to people, people are going to be good. I've been like incredibly fortunate to have friends, mentors, coaches that just have helped me throughout my career. And my message is just simple, just be good to the people,